Live. We're live? We're live. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. Pretty excited about this one. I'm enjoying doing these videos where I sort of directly respond to the content from the class and from the YouTube channel. It's fun. It keeps it fresh. They're doing a really great job of putting out interesting, evolving content. It gives me something to respond to because once the reality is that once you get past the functions, they stop matter. Like the functions stop mattering so fast, so fast. Functions are really important in my view. Like if you are actively trying to become an operator, then functions become really, really important. For basically everyone else, like it doesn't really fucking matter. Knowing your human needs is really important, I think. Which again, look, especially like if you're a glass lizard or you're whatever, then that could obviously throw some things off. But like understanding what the human needs are and being able to spot like, okay, well, this person is talking about, organization in a very sort of calm, matter of fact, take it for granted. Why doesn't everybody see how important this is? Because duh, obviously it's important. Versus, oh my God, you guys. So like the way that I talk about spontaneity and new experiences and not planning is the way that I'll talk about it is like, guys, I don't want to like tell a secret I'm not supposed to tell, but did you know that you don't have to plan everything all the time? And then the people who are Savior OE are like, Jace? I thought we all knew this. Right? So that sort of stuff I think is really important, right? Understanding the broad strokes of, wow, my need for control and planning is like kind of fucking up my life. I could make tweaks here and there to be less controlling and to open myself up to new possibilities and meet all of the human needs, right? Because this isn't, we're not talking about like the IJs have one set of needs and the EJs have a different set of needs. No, humans have human needs. And at the end of the day, all of those needs need to get met. And lordy, have I seen some people who are hardcore OI. They love their organization, they love their structure, they love their routine. And so they will unhealthily gravitate towards chaos because they don't know how to create that for themselves. They don't know how to let it in a healthy way for themselves. So they'll just fucking fly off the handle and be like, oh, well, this is any sort of chaos. Great. And then they complain about it. They're like, well, all chaos must be terrible. No, you're just seeking out the McDonald's of chaos. If you sought out, I don't know, the farm to table version of a chaos burger, maybe you wouldn't hate chaos so much, but you're getting the shittiest version of it. So of course you're going to hate it. Right? And to take that, the food analogy even further, one thing that I've been talking about in these videos, and especially with the quarantine and the self-reflection and the queer eye and the this and the that, my SF standards are notably higher than they used to be. They're not as high as my NT standards or even my ST standards, really. But like, I had no idea just how much my SF standards were in the basement, because like I just didn't care. I didn't feel the need to take responsibility for it. I didn't feel the need to care about it. I was like, this doesn't matter. And what ended up happening is it ended up like actually impacting my health. And that's bad, right? So like starting to step up my, sort of like stepping up my SF journey was very much about the food first. And then I was like, oh, well, if I reframe how I do food, that means my budget is going to change dramatically, which means I now have these extra funds. Well, fuck, I want to reinvest this into my SF because my money's making money. I'm going from po to moto. Is that the lyric? I gotta get the lyric right if I'm gonna quote Lin-Manuel Miranda. My money's making money. I'm going from... No, not... That's not the lyrics. I'm sorry for the detour. I'm not gonna fuck up Lin-Manuel Miranda's lyrics. From po to moto? That's the fucking lyric? I quit. Lin-Manuel Miranda is... I can't. My money's making money. I'm going from po to moto. And it rhymes with keep the bling. I want that brass ring like Frodo. God damn it, Lin. The point is, my SF money is making money. So I want to reinvest that SF money into more SF. And today, one of the things that I did was I finished the new season of Queer Eye and just feels, just all of the feels. And for whatever reason, I really connected with Jonathan this time in a way that I haven't before. I think a big reason for that is that I haven't had a haircut in a very long time. The last time I got a haircut was in February. So like, it's been a minute since I've gotten a haircut. So of course, watching Jonathan, like I'm more attuned to Jonathan's segments because he does the hair. But I was like, okay, well, if I'm reading, like I've become so aware that like SF matters and grooming matters on an actual health level. Like the result is a better cosmetic, but the process of it is about taking care of my skin. So for instance, this afternoon I went over to Rite Aid because the line at Target was a million miles long, and I got a face scrub and a moisturizer because I was like, I breaking out a little bit and the sedentary life is starting to kick in, and I'm just becoming more aware of my SF. And I'm like, oh shit, there are things that I can do to improve my SF over time. And I didn't get like the super crazy, like I just got the little Neutrogena one. I just got like, again, the scrub that like doesn't have any sulfates in it, not going crazy with it, but just starting to build this habit, starting to set these little tiny goals for myself about, okay, the end game is to have a grooming regimen that I like and that works for me and my schedule and my skin and my life. Okay, where do we start? Okay, well, step one, I have to just get products. Like if I didn't own moisturizer, so that is the thing I need to get. I didn't own a face scrub, so that's a thing I need to get, right? And now I'm starting to like, I was like, I'll do a little bit of consume, but like I want to get going on building this habit. And then as I start to do it, as I start to get into it more, now I can start to increase that goal of like, okay, I'm building this habit. What's my next goal? Okay, so like right now, I want to set the habit of doing a scrub a couple of times a week, but then moisturizing every day. I want that to be like part of my routine. Great. That is a small, short-term, very repeatable goal. And I think that, when Dave talks about the importance of these goals and like just setting 3 little goals, those goals will change over time, because once you set something as a small goal and it goes from being a goal to, well, now it's no longer a goal. Like that's just a thing that you do, right? So like at one point, I had a goal of waking up at 6:30 every day, right? I knew that for my body, for my schedule, my life, whatever, like that was an important thing for me to do. I was like, that is a goal. Okay, so what do I need to do systematically to make that goal happen? All right, well, I gotta make an effort to start winding down sooner. I gotta be relatively in bed by like 10 or 10:30 in order to be able to actually get up at 6, between 6 and 6:30, and to actually calm my body down so that I get a good enough night's sleep, right? All of these are sort of like mini goals leading up to a bigger goal. And then I can start to do those littler steps more fluidly and more effortlessly, to the point that larger goal of waking up at 6:30, that just becomes a step in a different process, right? So you're always going to be evolving your goals. And time is just really fucking weird right now, in that things happen really quickly, but also really slowly, but we feel like we should already be there because we can see where it's going. And you're like, oh no, fuck, up, stop. Just focus on the small term goals, because organically the smaller goals will just fall away, right? I had a goal when when everything shut down and the quarantine happened, and I was already starting to do this a little bit, where I was like, all right, I want to go grocery shopping more. I want to, revamp my eating habits. And so now, I mean, obviously I don't go out to restaurants because nobody can, but I also don't get a lot of takeout. I think I'm trying to even think the last time I got like a meal from a restaurant. And I honestly can't. Like, I'll get the occasional pre-prepared thing from like the grocery store, but like meal from restaurant, I don't. I guess probably the end of February, maybe the beginning of March, maybe. But my point is that was a big goal of mine, was to really cut down not only on the eating out for health reasons, right? Because eating out all the time, it's not as good. You can't season the food. You can't control the amount of salt and fat that you put in it. Again, because those are nutrients, and you have to be cognizant of what you put in your body. But like, I also was like, I need to fix my budget, right? So that the goal of eating, and the goal of eating out less and the goal of cooking at home more evolved into, ooh, I want to be cognizant about my budget now, right? And so I set I have my monthly budget and my weekly budget. The two are somewhat aligned, but I keep a running tally of both, just to sort of see like, all right, well, okay, yeah, that's fair. I did have to make an extra target run. Like, this is my once every 3 months kind of target run. And again, again, the way that I'm doing it, the way that I'm setting these smaller goals is I have is I'm not tracking bills as diligently, because those are things that happen. Those are things that they are kind of fixed and they're fine and I can afford them and I'm fine there. And they're also not something that I really can trim on super easily. And I don't, especially nowadays, like I don't want to start to get chintzy about like, how much electricity am I using? Like, no, that's just a thing. I'm able to use the electricity I need. Like I'm good in that respect. But there are lots of other ways that I can and should be more cognizant of my spending. Right. So then I was like, all right, we're going to set a different goal. Like the food is sort of wrapped up into all of it. The food's not going away. And if at any point I feel my food start to diminish, then I can be like, all right, hang on a second. Let's pause. Forget the budget goal for a second. Let's go back to the food goal. Let's reevaluate. Let's see what's going on there. Oh, right. Okay. No, I did fuck that up. That was my bad. We're good. I know how to fix this moving forward. We can go back to this other goal. Right. And at first, I had a certain amount of money that I wanted to spend per week that I was like, I'm going to arbitrarily put it at this amount. And I was like, that was a pretty easy goal to make. Cool. Let's modify this goal, because I didn't want to go super overboard, but I did want to be like, okay, I don't need that much of a cushion. I need some cushion. I want some flexibility, but I can put that off. Like I would rather be a little bit more Spartan in the first 28 days of the month. And then at the end of the month, sort of spend whatever I have left over. That works for me, feels good for me, whatever, right? So that's sort of what that's what I've been doing lately. And it is very much focusing on these small weekly goals. And again, I'm still very much in the data collection phase of doing my budget. Just the nature of my lifestyle in New York was very money in, money out. And it was very, very fluid, and saving wasn't really an option. And it was just a lot of, it's very hard to budget. I was able to save money, obviously, to move out here, but like, you don't really, it's either I'm going to save money and put it in a savings account, or I'm just going to be, focus my energy on cutting corners here and there. You can't really do both. Again, that's a bit of a side tangent, but my point is, now that I'm in a space where I can be like, you know what? I actually can look at my coffee habit. That is a thing that in all of this, I have discovered that I don't care about. I don't care about gourmet coffee. Just it's a thing that I did out of habit. It's a thing that I did out of perceived necessity. But like, I don't actually like or need or want lattes all the time. And I don't need to get, $8 and $10 burrito, crepe sandwich, whatever the fucks, just because I'm out and about. No, I can be more cognizant than that. Like, that's not a place that I need to hemorrhage money, right? And so in sort of the reallocating of my budget, like, I have this extra money now. Okay, now that goal is going to morph into this SF sort of wellness, self-care, grooming goals, right? But this grooming goal that I'm on now started because I just knew that I was eating out too much. And I think that one of the things that has accidentally served me very, very well is not trying to set goals that are too abstract and too far into the future. Because anytime I do that, by the time I get there, the world has just changed and I have changed, right? So let's talk about setting like a long-term goal. And given the pace of the world today, I'm going to say that a long-term goal is anything that is roughly a year out, right? If it's roughly a year out, that to me counts as like a long-term goal. If I'm setting a goal for more than a year out, well, now I run the risk of two things. The first risk is that the world is just going to change and the thing that I'm working towards is just not going to be relevant. Case in point, when I moved out to LA in August, my big thing was like, I want to be ready for the first pilot season. That didn't happen for a number of reasons, just because I wasn't actually in a place where I could emotionally invest, financially invest, mentally invest the kind of energy that I would have needed to actually make that goal happen, right? But the second thing is pilot season kind of got canceled this year because COVID. They are just now in Los Angeles starting to talk about policies and procedures and how to re-implement in-person filming of things. Because like, if you're doing the nature of film is like, sometimes you get really close to the other human. And like in Los Angeles, that is still very, very much a health risk. Like it's really hard to social distance on a film set, right? So if my goal was like, do something for pilot season, whatever, just because of the entropy of the world, that goal became moot, right? It became an irrelevant goal because it stopped existing. Same thing with, I think that there's a similar thing sort of happens in like the tech space and the social media space where it's like, yeah, like my goal is to get to 100,000 followers, but like that metric is an arbitrary metric. Like it doesn't actually matter how many followers you have if the ceiling keeps getting raised, right? And if it's like, well, I want to be in the top 1% of whatever, and I've mentioned this before, like, okay, have fun competing with actual Taylor Swift, but not actually Taylor Swift, actual Taylor Swift's entire fucking PR team. If you want to compete with that, be my guest, but you don't get your ass kicked, right? So setting that as a goal, I don't like that is too large and also too concrete of a goal, right? Back in the 80s and 90s, again, I don't know if people still do this, but it's like, yeah, I want to make a 6-figure salary. Okay, well, like a 6-figure salary in 1988 is very different from a 6-figure salary in New York City in 2020. Those two things are not comparable. So that's also not. So like if you have it in your head from when you were a kid, you're like, I want to make 6 figures. By the time you get to the point where you're making that may not actually be the right goal. And more importantly, let's say the world doesn't change. It's gonna, but let's say it doesn't. If you set a goal that's too far in the future, and you set a goal that's like, I want to own a Ferrari. I want to, if it's some sort of tangible thing, well, then now you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to change and be open to letting go of things that no longer serve you. The number of people who are so fucking bitter and jaded who do musical theater or honestly, any kind of acting, but I saw it a lot in musical theater. It's because they fell in love with this thing, like I did, when they were anywhere between the ages of 7 and 15. And they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. I want to be on Broadway. Well, that doesn't mean what it used to mean. When you fell in love with, like when you decided that was your goal, being on Broadway meant something very, very different than it does now. So like, if you're attaching your identity to something and not checking in to make sure that that really serves you, now you got issues, right? Because now you're attaching your identity to a thing and not a story. Aha, right? So I've been really interested in this concept of stories, and I think that this idea of goal setting really relates to that. So I love television. Like, I love television now. I think it's an incredible storytelling medium. And one thing that I love about it is the process by which a television show is made. Because what happens is, they will write only a couple of weeks in advance. If they're doing a big series, like a big, the new season of Mrs. Maisel or the new season of, I'm trying to think of another, like Stranger Things, right? Then yes, but frankly, not as much television is made that way as it may seem. Reality shows, I think that, again, part of the reason why reality shows have done so well on Netflix is that they're not made week by week. They're sort of made with one big narrative together, and then they're released episodically, but it's not generated week after week during the writing process. And most TV is still made with the intention of, we're going to write an episode, we're going to film it, we're going to do it, we're going to workshop it, we're going to film it. By the time this one is filmed, the one from 3 weeks ago will have aired. We'll be able to start writing the next one. And it just sort of, there's this nice little gradual building overlap. Why, whenever people say, like, you got to give a TV show 4-ish episodes for it to find its footing, that's because the episodes 2 and 3, like, the pilot was greenlit and the pilot's really good. But like episodes 2 and 3 were written kind of in the dark, not really knowing what works and what doesn't. And so now once we're at episode 4, episode 5, now it's like, aha, I get it. I get what the tone of the show is. I get what this wants to feel like. I see what resonates with people. Now let's start working towards that. And you can sort of think of these mini goals that you're setting like you are writing a television show for your life, to get real NI abstract analogy about it, right? So it's like, all right, I'm going to write, like right now, I did the last episode was all about food, and all about fixing my food habits. I'm working on writing that episode and figuring things out and tweaking it, and we did the thing. Great. That episode is in the can. Cool. Let me watch that episode now that I've made it and be like, all right, I got it. All right, now I kind of know where I want this next episode to go. The next episode being the budget. Cool. Did the budget. I can now see the food episode and the budget episode. I can sort of see them back to back. I can see the thread there. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I think that we just need to go explore this SF space. Okay, great. I think this might need to be a two-parter. I think we need to think of sort of like the grooming is one thing, and the clothing and the hair, like the skincare stuff and the that side of self-care, that's sort of one thing. But then there's the cosmetic side of like getting back into the gym and buying clothes that really fit me, getting the right haircut, right? That doesn't, like, even now, you're lucky I put gel in this motherfucker, because otherwise it would be poof. I would look like the Indian Polly Walnuts. It would not cute. Not cute. But like I need to get my haircut to make to like make it look like it's good with my face. It's a whole fucking thing, right? And so then I'll be able to look at that chapter, and I'm setting these small goals with the intention of the next goal I set being better and even more refined. And I think that there is value, and I think that there is merit to setting long-term goals. But I think it's important that whatever those long-term goals are, I think that it be focused around like something that can't be made tangible, where it's like, I just love, like, I want to be a part of spirituality in general. Like when we start to talk about like pillars of your house, I spoke in another video about, I want spirituality to be a pillar in my house, right? It maybe isn't, and it's not built into everything. It's not the only pillar. It's not that there are 4 pillars, but it is a pillar nonetheless. And it's something that I do want to support the infrastructure of this life that I'm trying to build for myself, right? Those are the sorts of things, because because now it's not even saying something like the wellness space, because the wellness space evolves, it changes. The wellness space now is fucking awesome. The wellness space in 1984 was pretty fucking garbage and like really toxic and not good, right? The wellness space in the late 80s and early 90s is like not something I wanted to be a part of at all. But now it is, right? And same with like, and on the flip side, I was like, yeah, I love like nerdy things, and I love the nerd space, and I just want to be a part of that, whatever that entails. But then I look at it, I'm like, you know what? This space isn't serving me anymore. I need to look beyond this space and see something a little more abstract that I can actually attach my values to. Right? And so I think that it is fine to be like, I have a big goal of being of service to myself and others. I have a big goal of promoting earnest spirituality and integrating that into our day-to-day lives in a way that is taken seriously and isn't considered hokey or new agey or hippy dippy or anything like that, that it becomes this sort of like magical realism way of existing, which is very much how I experience the world. And that's something I want to promote, right? It can take a number of ST forms, but that NF goal is a very abstract one, right? And I think to sort of tie all of these loose ends up about like setting goals and the importance of goals and this and that, like, why do we need to set goals, period? Like, why can't we just do things, right? And I think that the reason why the goal setting is important, whether it is an SI goal, an NI goal, an FE goal, again, you can define these terms however the fuck you want, it doesn't matter. When you're setting goals, it becomes so much easier to just see what serves you and what doesn't. And that, I think, is something, there are lots of ways to phrase this that don't pass a lot of cross checks of like, when you're focused on a goal, then you block out the chaos. Well, what if your goal is to allow more chaos in? Hashtag checkmate. Like, there are so many ways to phrase it, but I think that when you think of it in terms of service, serving yourself and serving others. When you have a goal, things stop just being things, right? It's like, is this serving me? Is this serving the thing I want to accomplish next? Is it serving my ability to be there and show up for myself? Is it affecting my ability to be there and show up for others? Whatever it is you're working on, having a goal suddenly is like, oh shit, yeah, getting a coffee doesn't serve me because of what I'm working on right now. I can't be thinking about gourmet coffee. If and when I'm making squajillions of dollars, fine. Then it doesn't matter as much. And then it's a different conversation. But like, when you have these goals and things that you can focus on in the short term, you know, for a really long time, I was real strict about bedtime. I'm still pretty strict about bedtime. I am not staying up until 1 a.m. That's just like not a thing I do anymore. Kind of for any reason. And for a long time, I was like, no, phone is off at 10. Fuck anybody who wants to get in touch with me after that. But like, now that that has become such a built-in thing, I can be a little more flexible about it, right? It isn't the thing that I'm focusing on. And I think, you know, one of the sort of bits of rhetoric advice that comes up a lot, is when talking about Mike Rowe, how he's just like, just fucking do a job. Don't worry about where it's going. Just show up and fucking just do a job. Fill a void, do it, take pride in it, learn to love it, right? That sort of thing. I think that the reason why I think that that's really important in the context of goal setting is that it keeps you grounded and it keeps you from like spinning off into fucking la la land about, okay, where is this going? How long do I have to do this job for that I don't like? No, just fucking do the job. Do the work that, don't be miserable. Don't do something that actively like saps your joy. I'm never going to be here for that. But if you're doing something that's a stepping stone kind of thing, right? If you're constantly asking yourself, when am I going to move to the next level? You're undermining your ability to actually move to the next level. And more importantly, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to learn and be in the moment and to learn from everything that there is around you if you're too focused on the next step. And that was my biggest issue in career, in relationships, which career is a form of a relationship. The last 4 years when I was living in New York, the biggest reason that I didn't date anybody is because my mind was just not in the present. All I could think about was like, I'm not here right now. My mind is in Los Angeles. That's where my heart and my mind and my energy and my spirit and my intention is. It isn't here. So like, I'm going to be closing myself off to very, very real opportunities that are right here in front of me because my heart and my mind are elsewhere, right? So that really hurt me. That prevented me from for showing up for myself, for surrounding myself with healthy people. I ended up, because I wasn't being present and because I wasn't really investing in the people around me, we all started to drift apart. And the toxicity that formed in that gap, I didn't see it because my mind was elsewhere. And now when I'm trying to get out, it's like, why is this so fucking hard? oh, because I'm mired in this toxicity that I did nothing to address as it was forming. Great. This is so much fun that I have to deal with right now if I'm ever going to leave. Right? So, all of that being said, what I love about this sort of Mike Rowe approach of just like just do your job, be in the moment, be present, be here now, love it, do it, is that it really is this sort of short-term goal that you can set for yourself of like, I just want to show up to work every day and then go home. That's it. That's it. And that's really what ultimately why I had to leave New York was because I was trying to do that. And it was just not conducive to doing that because it is such an ambitious environment. And when you're always surrounded by people who are hustling and trying to get to the next level all the time. And here I am being like, can we just like enjoy the level that we're at for a second? Can we please just do this? Then, I was like, I can't be around this. I can't constantly be living in tomorrow or a week from now because it's not letting me enjoy the moment. And quite frankly, it's putting me in a position where other people are taking advantage of me and I'm doing nothing about it because I'm so focused on the future that I'm not actually addressing the problems in my present. And one of the best things I did for myself when I moved out here was that I didn't sign up for improv classes right away. And I, same within New York. Everybody's like, oh, as soon as I get into a class, just start doing stuff. And I'm like, no, motherfucker. No, don't do that. Start off like just live for a second. Be where you are. And then organically, by virtue of just accidentally feeling it, right? Like as you work through these smaller goals, these smaller issues, these smaller whatever the fuck it is, you will eventually work through the things enough and your attention will be able to move to something else and you'll be open to newer possibilities. And as it happened, sort of come December, I was able to be like, you know what? I think I kind of do want to take improv classes. Let me look into it. Okay, great. This is really seamless. This is feeling pretty effortless systematically. I think I want to invest in it. And then I started doing that. But even there, I didn't go, all right, let me sign up for Conservatory 1. Let me sign up for a stand-up class. No. One class. You're just signing up for this class. Let me do level 1. Okay, great. I like level 1. Let me keep it going. Level 2. And then we got the corona and whatever. Level 3, I'm about to sign up for level 4. And I'm like slowly working it out. And then when this one sort of tapers off, then I'll throw in the stand-up stuff. Then I'll throw in the pilot, whatever. But again, I'm not planning that in advance because I don't know how I'm going to feel when I get there. I just want to focus on this thing that I'm doing and not be trying to have my finger in 17 different fucking pies. Right now I have a goal of finishing the Second City Conservatory, which is like the culmination of which is writing a 50-minute sketch show with you and 5 or 6 other people. So like, that's really my goal for 2020 is to make it through all of that, to really do a good job with it. Because that's sort of thing, if I do a good job with it and really start to invest in like, let me promote that, get so invested in it that I can't help but to promote it because I'm so excited about it, that I can't help but to learn about how to promote this show because I'm so excited about it, because I put so much work into it. That's gonna fucking pay off, right? And that may end up let me put it this way, whatever that turns into, because I'm so invested in the moment and in the process and just making this thing that I'm working on so fucking good, that will necessarily inform whatever comes after. And I'll end on this anecdote. The best show that I ever did, was this John Denver musical I did in South Carolina. It was the most beautiful month of my life. We had like 9 days of rehearsal where we had to learn 29 songs, learn and arrange and memorize a big old script. It was a whole fucking thing. And we worked our asses. Like I've never seen 5 people put in more work over the course of 8 or 9 days, ever. Never seen it. It was extraordinary. But what made that process so goddamn special was because we knew that the show wasn't going anywhere. Nobody was trying to bring it to Broadway. There were no further expectations other than this thing that we were working on right now. And we made that thing so goddamn good and put so much of ourselves into it that when we went back to our regular lives, we were like, fuck this. We need to make big changes in our life now. And it was extraordinary. And I think that if we had been looking towards the future and like investing energy in, well, where could this go? What could we maybe do with this? It would have made the process less special. It would have made the work that we were doing less special, less interesting, and ultimately less good. And I think it's important to learn, and this is, again, a lot of me talking to myself, learning how to really be invested in these short-term goals that we're working on and letting the journey take us where it takes us. Because if we're invested in the moment and being really present and being kind to one another and being considerate and focusing on just being good, hardworking, ethical, morally driven people, you string enough of those bricks together, popcorn balls, lay enough of those bricks. If you string enough of those popcorn balls together, you got a little garland for the Christmas tree. And if you lay enough of those bricks, eventually you'll get a wall. But the goal is really just lay the best brick you can. Take pride and care in that brick and trust that whatever the wall looks like when you're done is going to be beautiful. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love doing these videos. I don't know what to tell you. I had no intention of this turning into anything. And it's so much fun. It's given me so much structure and stability and centeredness. And I love connecting with the community. It's been a really unexpectedly kind of beautiful journey that I can't wait to see where it goes next. All right. Schmoopy feelings. Bye.